All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're doing a tactical breakdown of that all-important first move, the art of the approach. You're going to want to forget everything you think you know. This isn't about anxiety, it's about action. Let's go. So, right off the bat, here's the fundamental problem we're all up against. In the animal kingdom, courtship is basically a dance, right? It's all instinct, all ritual. But for us humans, well, we've got this one massive handicap, our own brain. It gets in the way. We second guess, we overanalyze, we question every little thing. And that's the whole game, isn't it? If our own mind is the biggest obstacle standing between us and what we want, how in the world do you bypass it? How do you just act on that initial gut feeling? That's exactly what we're here to figure out. Okay, so your brain becomes the enemy when it kicks into what they call analysis paralysis. You know the feeling. You're asking yourself, do I look okay? What am I even going to say? Is this the right time? Shyness just completely takes over and bam, you're frozen. You're like a deer in the headlights, just standing there, watching a perfect opportunity walk right on by. And let's be totally clear about the stakes here. The source material calls it the singles jungle, and for good reason. It's a competitive world out there, and that old saying, he who hesitates is lost? Yeah, that's basically the law of the land. In this game, hesitation isn't just a missed chance, it's a tactical death sentence. So for the guys listening, the hunters as they're called, your playbook has one golden rule right at the top. You have to approach and you have to do it fast. There is absolutely zero debate on this. Speed is your #1 asset. This quote comes from a story about a guy named Phil. He sees a woman he literally calls his future bride. But instead of acting, he just gets completely lost in his own head, trying to workshop the perfect opening line. Is this too boring, too cheesy, too forward? While he was busy overthinking, some other guy just walked up and said, hello. And just like that, Phil's love at first sight turned into loss at first sight. Don't be Phil. Now, moving fast doesn't mean you charge in like a bull in a china shop. No, it's a precise 3-step drill. And I want you to think of it like making a reservation. Step 1, make eye contact and hold it just a fraction of a second longer than you normally would. Step 2, if she looks back, you give a friendly, respectful smile and a little nod. And step 3, you move. You just get yourself within conversation range. That's it. You've signaled your interest, you've reserved your spot. So, what's the clock on all of this? 45 seconds. That's the magic number. After you make that first eye contact, she's probably going to look away. That's totally normal. But that's when you start the clock. The research calls it the chronograph challenge. If she glances back at you anytime within those 45 seconds, that's it. That is your green light. You are clear to proceed with the smile and nod. All right, you made your reservation, you're in range. Now what do you say? This is where almost every guy gets it wrong. You have to completely abolish the very idea of an opening line from your brain. Just get rid of it. And here's why you don't need some clever, witty line. In those first few moments, she isn't really hearing the words you're saying anyway. Her brain is doing something way more primal. She's sizing you up. She's checking out your vibe, your confidence, your delivery. Look, she knows whatever you say is just an excuse to talk to her, and if she likes you, she's perfectly fine with that. So look at this. On the left, you've got the antique gems. These are the cheesy, played-out lines from your grandpa's era that just make women cringe today. But on the right, you have contextual openers. They're simple. They're about the situation you're both in. How do you know the host? I like your watch. Can you tell me what time it is? Honestly, the less clever it is, the better. And you have to remember this. That first sentence is 100% of her data on you at that moment. There is nothing else. So if you open with a complaint about the music, guess what? You're a complainer. If you open with a brag, you're a braggart. But if your first words are just simple and charming, then in her mind, you are charming. Simple as that. Okay, time to pivot. Huntresses, you might be thinking this whole approach thing is the man's job, but the research reveals a really surprising truth about who is actually running the show here. Nope, that is not a typo. 2/3. Researchers have found that in the overwhelming majority of cases, it's actually the woman who initiates the encounter. Now, it might not look like she's walking up and saying hi, but trust me, it's happening through subtle, incredibly powerful signals. There's a key biological term for this, female proceptivity. And notice the word isn't receptivity, it's proceptivity. It's not passive, it's an active process of sending nonverbal signals to get things started. I love how the source material frames this. It's not you being too forward. It's you fulfilling your evolutionary mandate, your instinctive destiny, to select the best possible mate. Mother Nature would be proud. So what does this look like in the real world? Let's take the story of Leil, the author, and this handsome stranger, Sam. She's in a restaurant, she sees him, and she decides to put her own research to the test. She just smiles at him. And his reaction? Well, it's not great. He looks completely stunned, maybe a little bewildered, and he immediately just buries his head right back in his book. Now, a lot of women would probably give up right there, but not Leil. So when he looked up again, she smiled again. When he walked past her table on his way to the restroom, she smiled again. She just kept at it, as she puts it, drowning him in smiles, until it became the most obvious, logical, natural thing in the world for him to stop and talk to her. And here is the absolute kicker. Later on, when she's telling this story at a seminar that Sam just happens to be attending, he was genuinely confused. He turned to her and said, "Wait a minute, I thought it was I who made the approach to you." He honestly, truly believed their meeting was his idea. And that little moment of confusion from Sam, that leads us to the final and maybe the most powerful piece of this entire puzzle. Because for women, that is not a bug, it's a feature. The male ego is your secret weapon. The source literally calls it a wondrous thing, and here's why. Men will retroactively take credit for the initiation. 10 minutes after you've smiled at him, brushed past him, or pointed to an empty chair next to you, his brain will have already rewritten the story so that he was the one who made the bold move. And this is what gives you as a woman the absolute freedom to be as forward as you want without any fear of appearing too forward. So let's just do a quick recap of the whole playbook. For everybody, your brain is the enemy, so you have to act fast to beat analysis paralysis. For the hunters, your mission is to make that 3-step reservation. Eyes, smile, move, and then open with something from the situation, not some lame pickup line. And for the huntresses, your job is to move first with those powerful nonverbal signals. Be persistent, because your secret weapon is the fact that he'll always, always think it was his idea. Which brings us right back to where we started, that central conflict. In this game, where a single split-second decision can change everything, what do you trust more? Your raw, animal instinct that's screaming at you to act, or your complex intellect that's telling you to wait and analyze? Maybe the real answer isn't choosing one over the other, but learning to let your instincts take the wheel while your intellect just navigates.